Working with women of different ages and in various situations can be challenging. Sometimes the most important thing an advisor can do is listen. Hi, Lauren. I'm so glad you're able to join me today. I've been talking to women at all ages and stages about where they go for financial advice, and I think everybody has a story. What's your story?
I was recently divorced at the time, and I found a financial person who wooed me and told me to invest with him, and he was going to make me a couple of million.
Did that work out?
No, it didn't work out. And then once I wasn't happy with that, I left and I got married, and my husband talked me into coming in with his person in a big company. And he was very happy there, but I wasn't. I didn't feel like he knew our name. I didn't know what floor to get off. It was a large building, and we moved to Franklin Lakes. Took a class that Taylor Financial was offering, and I found Debbie Taylor, and the rest is history.
So what was it that Debbie said at this educational program? Was it for women or just people in the community?
I don't know if it wasn't just for women, but it was definitely geared to women. Women showed up, and it was going to continue as a woman. Let's educate the women in finances, because in our town, most of the men handle it, and she wanted the women to be aware of what was going on.
And what struck you was, wow, this is what I've been looking for?
It was she listened to everything we had to say, and then the next meeting was a lunch and learn meeting, was going to be exactly what I needed. My husband was thinking about retiring soon, and she made the lunch and learn all about retiring.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
And I imagine you and some of your girlfriends went. Do you talk about finances, and do they ask you who do you use?
They do. Some do. It's not a big topic of conversation, but when we were going through the classes, it was through the Franklin Lakes Newcomers Club, which we just joined, and everyone was talking about it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned your husband was getting ready to retire. This is sort of a different phase of life. What kind of financial questions do you have as, you know, you're a young wife, your husband's getting ready to retire? What kind of questions did you have about your finances?
That was exactly it. He was a teacher, so he had to pick his pension, and he had to pick it before he retired. And Debbie looked over, after having the class too, so I knew a little bit what was going on. She looked over the different options and suggested one for us, which we actually went with, and thank God.
Yeah.
Thank God we did. Yeah.
What was the difference of the way Debbie communicates with you versus the advisor at the big firm that turned you off so much?
I don't even remember his name.
That's telling, isn't it?
Yeah. I'm trying to think of what it was, but you'd walk into the office and they would put you somewhere, and then you'd go into the other office, and I don't even think he knew who I was. He knew my husband a little bit because he was there for a few years, but in Debbie's office, everyone knows you. You even give them hugs when you walk in. There's always a client event, so not only do we know everyone that works in the office, but we know other clients that she has. And
Right.
it's always very friendly, and she always listens to what we have to say and always takes notes, and after your appointment sends you a summary of what those notes were and what you said.
So that's key to you, the communication and this sense of community as well.
Absolutely.
If you were talking to other financial advisors who might be watching this, what would you tell them that they should do for women like you?
Well, be a little bit more in touch with their situations, know their situations, ask more questions instead of just advise them on what they should be doing with their money. There's so many different ways to go that I've learned I didn't know before. And with Debbie, there's so many different options that she helped us with.
Can you give me an example?
My father-in-law was ill, and she helped us that way, finding an elder attorney and finding places and how we can figure out his money and what to do with it. That was something we really needed help with. And then once he passed, she helped us with getting his estate going and handled everything.
And you also have some children, and some are still in school, right? So I guess you still have college issues as well.
Yeah, well, college we lucked out with because we have a house in Florida and we did a prepay.
Oh, good for
But
you.
she often does classes on 50-something, 529 plans. A lot of people ask about that. We didn't need that because we had one for Iraq already in place.
So it sounds like your previous advisor was all about the money.
Absolutely.
And your current advisor is all about your life.
Yeah. I never thought about that. Wait, yes, absolutely.
Well, thanks so much for sharing your story with us today.
Thanks for having me.
Debbie, thanks for sitting down to talk with me about women and financial advice. I had a chance to speak to one of your clients, Lauren. She was divorced, remarried, and in search of good financial advice, and she found you. You and I talked about everybody has a story. How do you search out clients' stories, and how do you help them?
I search out their stories by being available and really listening. I want to hear from them, not just about their money, not just about their balance sheet and their liabilities. I want to know what makes them tick, what keeps them up at night, what they're thinking about, what they're worried about, what their goals are. And once a client knows that you are really interested in them, they will open up and they will have those really deep, meaningful conversations.
How do people find you?
They find me in a number of ways. So mostly referrals. What we find is that higher net worth clients like to find their financial advisors through their friends, through their contacts, through their professionals. So mostly referrals, but we do advertise in the local newspaper. We do hold community events like Lunch and Learns where we educate folks in the community. And we also do a Dear Debbie column in the local newspaper as well.
It sounds like a great outreach effort and not typical in the financial advice community. What would you tell colleagues looking to perhaps attract and maybe retain female clients?
So for female clients, I would say you need to work hard to build a community within your firm and with the clients. So we are super personal, we are super high touch, we know people's stories and we care about their stories, and we keep our word. So it's really personalized, really deep service, and it's about the person, not about their money or their balance sheet necessarily.
This sounds like a lot of emotional hand-holding. Does it pay off professionally and financially?
Yes, I would say it does. First of all, it's very rewarding. So I have women come to me who are newly widowed or newly divorced, and they are really embarking on a journey, and I feel like I join them at the journey, on the journey at a really important time, and we grow together. So it is personally and professionally incredibly rewarding. And it also works out financially as well because you have clients who are happy and who will refer their friends to you.
And is that a source of new clients for you, is referrals?
Yes.
What would you tell women who are looking for financial advice? I mean, sometimes it's hard to find.
It is hard to find, particularly I think the women who are looking for someone who understands them and is willing to go the extra mile for them, because it is a confusing world and there are a lot of choices for these women to make, and often they don't have the experience and they don't have the network of advisors to help them make these decisions. So what I would say is talk to your friends, be choosy, and ask really tough questions when you sit down and meet with someone. Don't just go with the first person you meet with. This decision is way too important.
Debbie, that's great advice. Thanks for sitting down with me.
My pleasure.